Hey everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Today we have a special episode on a vintage diagnostic tool. Here it is. It is the original Snap-on Vantage MT2400. This unit, well, here's the history. It was sent to me by a viewer, Wyatt One Able, who has a YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. A couple of videos ago, if you remember, we repaired a power supply for a clear chart 2 that's used in a optometry office. This guy right here. So we'll be installing this in my wife's optometry practice very soon. I did manage to get a remote for it and a mounting bracket. It works perfect. But in that video, I had a comment from Wyatt. He's like, could you fix my old Vantage voltmeter or component test meter? The voltmeter just doesn't work on it. I'm like, so I was kind of like joking around, like, yeah, sure, send it over, I'll fix it up for you. So he did. He sent me the Vantage and he said, try to make it work. So his complaint was that the voltmeter on this thing doesn't work. So let's kick it on. Version 2.1. So if we go to the multimeter setting, press yes. That's it. You get a blank screen. There's nothing here. Just print and hold. If you try to print it, like, obviously there's no printer hooked up. But that's it. You get a blank screen. If we go to the component test meter, and you pick something, pick a mass airflow. It seems to work. Even give you like a known good waveform. So that's like a frequency test. We can do just a signal test, and it'll switch to a volt DC, and the line's moving across. If you wiggle the leads, I mean, there's definitely something happening here. So it looks like internally this thing is functional. Now we'll see if it actually measures voltage, but it turns on if you go to the component test meter. But if you go to, if you back out all the way to the main menu, you go to multimeter, it doesn't work. Okay. So basically, the question here is it a hardware problem or is it a software problem? Now, I was just messing around. I don't have a user's manual for this. I was just pushing buttons, and I was reading up on these features and benefits. Look at that. Even has a 5-minute walkthrough with demo board. But let's read the features and benefits here. It's got a communication port. Let's see if we start from the beginning here. Features and benefits include dual channel display, 5 input channels, so you can actually connect some accessories into here, like even pressure transducer. So this tool was very advanced for its time. I mean, even today, I don't know how many technicians in regular shops even know what an oscilloscope is, or let alone how to use one. But this thing was, back in the 90s, they already had all these capabilities. Now again, I think this is a very underrated tool even back then and today. But anyways, let's scroll through some of the features. Software updatable. Like our scanner, protection against obsolescence is built in by having fully updatable software. No need to worry about your purchase being replaced by another model next year. Vantage instead will grow more powerful with time. So I wonder what the Snap-on guy would say if you brought this thing in to get it updated. I don't know if they could even do it. This is, again, I don't know what the version here was. If you turn it on, 31798. So anyways, you read up on what this thing can do. It's a graphing digital multimeter with built-in database of component-specific testing information by the same techs who designed the Snap-on scanner. Its proven solutions shorten the time required to test vehicle components, effectively detects and displays intermittent signal glitches, operates with the same easy navigate controls, blah blah blah. So you can do a digital multimeter and graphic display, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But the question here is, can we make the multimeter work? Can we restore the full functionality, digital display, graphing display, scope, graphing meter, all that good stuff? For Wyatt here, who sent it to me and expects nothing less. So, I mean, it just walks you through all kinds of good stuff. So there's multimeter or waveform viewer. Functions directly. Okay. On a lap scope, this dropout may only appear sporadically and is barely noticeable flicker. On the Vantage, you can measure things that you can't do on a scope, like pulse width, frequency. I mean, it like sells itself right here. Glitch capturing capability. So they really went to town on designing this thing, and it tries to teach you how to use it. I mean, it's beautiful. So let's dig into it and see if we can restore the functionality. So just from poking around on the, with the buttons here, we can see that there are two modes that this meter can operate in. So the multimeter, which Wyatt says doesn't work, and we saw that it just gives you a blank screen, and the waveform viewer, which is basically your scope. Now it gives you all these functions here, but if you just get into the waveform viewer, you can manually select, your range. So like, 0 to 2 volts. We can select our time base. Now the fastest time base you can select is 10 milliseconds. So we can't go microseconds. You can't really do like a CAN bus waveform, but this is good enough for your crank and cam signals. And on the scope, we can go up to 1 second. So that's just reading probably the frequency from my fluorescent light here. So if you connect the two leads together, and it comes with a nice backlight, how about that? If we connect the two leads together, we should just see, nothing, 0. And there's even, you can even set the trigger. So if you have spikes, it'll kind of momentarily freeze the screen on the trigger. You set a little higher right now. But anyways, that's the scope. The scope works. What about the multimeter? So let's back out of here and see if we can get into the multimeter function without going through this menu. So the only way I think we can do this is through the component tests. And here, I mean, you can select, there's a lot of features. So he says generic fuel injected. You can actually select specific component tests with pinouts and everything for all these makes and models. We can go up to 95 for Mazda. But it doesn't really matter. There's a generic all others menu there. So let's just hop into one of these, go to component tests, and just pick the first one. We don't really care. We just want to see the multimeter screen. So let's select the first one there. So notice now we are in this screen, which the time base here is 5 seconds. So this isn't the scope anymore. Now we're actually into the the multimeter. So if you hold the if you want to navigate through here, I think you hold the N button. And now if you go to view, we can actually get a digital view. So that's our multimeter screen right there. Min, max, everything you want. Now here we can select what we want to measure. So volts DC, ohms, injector pulse width, frequency, duty cycle, dwell time, continuity. We even have amps. We can graph current up to 10 amps. No other tool that I know of can do this. Actually have a, plot your amps. Even the new Varus doesn't have this capability. That's super cool. I want to try that out. So stick with volts DC for now. And this is really neat. You can have a dual display. So for channel 1, let's do volts DC. And for channel 2, we can pick like, I don't know, amps. And it asks you channel 1, channel 2. Sure, that's good. So now we have 2 digital displays. Then we can customize this even further. We can graph the volts and look at our amps in a digital form. I mean, how cool is that? We can customize the the scale. We can actually graph the amps as well. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Let's see if we can do dual. So okay, so that changes the scale for both channels. So I think that's all Wyatt really wanted to do with his Vantages, to have capability of having his multimeter set up here. So if you go back to digital, go back to single, it reminds you to take out your lead from the amps port so you don't bust the fuse, which is actually really neat if you just take off this tripod time, I guess. Take off this guy. There's just the regular automotive fuse in here, super handy. So if you blow it, just replace it, no big deal. And this thing is powered by 2 massive D batteries. That was all the rage back in the 90s. I think they're still sold today. So there's your multimeter, Wyatt. That's all you can ask for, right? So instead of going to multimeter, which for some reason doesn't work, so I believe it's a software glitch, since we can kind of get to it the back door way. So instead of going here, just go to component tests. Pick the first one, DC voltage test, whatever, and you're in your multimeter. Press and hold the no button, and you're fully customizable here. Do your digital display. Full screen it. Beautiful, right? Graph it. Excellent. So now that we have that working, I actually want to put this thing to kind of take it for a test drive, see if it's accurate, see if the multimeter works. We can even try it out on a car. do a couple quick experiments, but this thing is a pretty powerful tool. So I don't see anything really broken with it. It might be a little software glitch, but it doesn't affect the performance, at least as far as I can tell. So Wyatt, I call this one fixed. Alright, here's my little test setup. Simple DC power supply. Pop that sucker on, and there you go. 10.78, 10.6, close enough. We can use another voltmeter. I know this isn't the most accurate scale. We can just hook up another voltmeter just to make sure this number is on the money. Alright, I got my trusty amp clamp set up. So I raise it to like battery voltage, 12.3, 12.38, 12.41. I think we're in business here. Calibration looks good. Look at that beautiful graphing capability on the money, so I like it. Now, what else do we want to try out? What I want to do is, since we have an amp readout here, we can actually, let's see here, dial this guy down. Now this is 0 to 5 amps, so we're definitely not going to blow the fuse in here. But we can pop this lead into the amp setting and then scroll up to our channel selection, go to amps, and now as we dial up the amperage here, there you go, you can graph amps. How cool is that? I've always wanted to try out one of these things. So this thing maxes out at 4.6, looks like. Right in the money. Look at that, 4.64, 4.64. So the ammeter works perfect. It graphs. What more can you ask for? Now we can actually do a dual display here, right? View, dual. So we'll do volts DC and amps. Okay, continue. So the bottom should still be amps. And now if we connect, I mean our voltage is only going to be like 1 volt or so. But if we connect another lead up here, which I conveniently have, let's see here, connect that up to channel 1. I have to drop this piece of equipment, and this guy will just piggyback off of here. So is that, no, I don't know if I can trust this guy. We can still turn on our regular voltmeter here. So 1.7 volts. It says 1 volt DC. However, the scale here, you want it to be, you know, close to whatever you're measuring. So right now it looks like channel 1 is measuring 1 volt DC, and this guy is measuring 1.7. So, you know, what's the deal? The deal is that the current, keep in mind, is running right now through here, through the red lead, through the amps port, and back on the comm. And if there's a lot of current running, our voltage measurement might not be very accurate. So maybe this is why they don't offer this feature anymore. But so it's I guess measuring amps and volts at the same time, that's just, you know, I guess it's not the way to use this thing, even though it offers the capability. But if we disconnect the amp port, so now this is accurate, right? 7.9, 7.9. Even though it's off the scale, it still gives you a readout. Beautiful. I mean, digital, max, min, reset your max and min. That's pretty awesome. Let's see what else we can try. I guess last experiment I wanted to try is with a test light to see the turn on, like rush current, using this guy. I don't know, might be a cool thing to, you know, graph the amps. Instead of using an amp clamp, you can use the meter directly. Alright, here's the last test that I want to do. We got a regular test light. We have 12 volts supplied by our power supply. And here I have set up, the top is 0 to 14 volts on a 5-second screen, and then the bottom is amps on a 5-second screen. Now we can even make this a little faster on the time scale here. Let's see, we can go to 2 seconds. Let's do a 2-second screen. So what will happen here? When I touch the positive lead coming from the power supply to the tip of the test light, that will carry current through our amp port and back on the comm, back into the power supply. The test light should light up. We're also measuring the voltage on channel 1 here with the blue lead. So we should have voltage and amperage graphed on the same tool simultaneously. Let's check it out. 1, 2, 3. That is so awesome. So if you want to capture the waveform, you have to be quick with your hands here. So only on a 2-second screen, we'll touch it real quick. You know, touch the test light, and we have to hit yes to capture that waveform. So let's try to be quick about this. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so you saw the test light flickered twice. I touched it briefly. So now, when we're in this paused mode, we can go to our scroll bar. It says Y for screen scroll. And now, there's a little cursor. We can actually go right to where we first touched the test light. And you see the current there, 489. Well, I guess it's out of range, 489 milliamps. And we're at, 11 volts, 12 volts. So the voltage scale is a little bit off, but we can still see the pattern at the same time. And as we scroll down, the test light heats up, and it comes down to its normal, 250 milliamp reading. And here, again, now test light was already warm, so it didn't have to have that huge inrush current. It already, was preheated basically. We're at 350 milliamps here. So if we want to, let's see, let's get out of here, let's make it run, and just do a steady state. We'll let the test light just turn on and fully warm up. And we're at 280 milliamps. Which is exactly what our current meter says on the power supply. So I think that's pretty neat that you can graph current on here. And also a nice feature here is on the time scale, we can jack up this time scale up to freaking 16 hours. Time base may exceed the power off timer setting. So this thing can run for 16 hours, measuring, parasitic battery draw overnight and making a nice graph for you. So Now that's really neat. Let's do 1 hour. So I don't know, even for 20 minutes. Let's see if we can. I don't know if it'll do like 1 point per minute or what, or every 30 seconds. Well, there you go. It's starting to draw. In any case, don't want to make this video too long. You saw the old school Vantage in action. Just a little software glitch. You have to get into the multimeter through the component test meter. Not a big deal at all, Wyatt. So I hope that helps you out so you can keep using your trusty Vantage. I'll send it right back to you. And with that, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed the little demo review of an old tool. If you can grab one of these on eBay or wherever, go for it. Fantastic piece of equipment. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.